Okay, welcome to the deep dive. Today, June 5, 2025, we're jumping into the crypto landscape. We're pulling insights from a bunch of recent sources, mostly articles from contributors over on CoinMarketCap.
That's right. Think of it like a snapshot of what's buzzing today. What stories are people telling? What charts are they watching? And, where are the conflicts?
And our mission really is to cut through all that noise. We want to quickly pull out the key things from these articles, help you make sense of what's being reported today, and just give you a clear feel for the main themes without, getting lost in the weeds.
Yeah, and we've got quite a mix. There's a piece making a pretty bold claim about an old coin.
Right.
Then there's some analysis on Bitcoin where it stands technically. And this is interesting. Two totally contradictory articles about XRP.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and even different takes on the bigger picture, like where we are in the market cycle.
Okay, so let's just dive right in then. First up, this article title definitely catches the eye. Mutuum Finance, MUTM, solidifies its position as top crypto of 2025. Key updates from the team.
Yeah, big title. But what's really key to notice here, maybe even more than the claim itself, is the context. This is from Crypto Daily, but it's labeled specifically as a guest post.
Ah, okay. Provided by the community on CoinMarketCap.
Exactly, and it comes with that, that classic disclaimer.
It's DYOR.
DYOR, do your own research. So the main point here isn't really whether MUTM is the top crypto, but how these projects get their message out.
Right.
The fact that it's a guest post, likely from the team or close to them, on a community platform. With that disclaimer, it just shows you how promotion works in this space. You always have to think about the source.
And potential bias even on aggregation sites?
Precisely. The title mentions key updates from the team, suggesting that's the reason for the claim. But the text we have doesn't actually detail those updates. So it's the framing, the source, that's the real takeaway.
That makes sense. It tells you as much about the crypto media scene as the coin itself. Okay, let's pivot to the big one, Bitcoin. We've got an article looking at its chart. BTC holds 105K while 50 MA support faces pressure near triangle tip.
Right. So this one's getting technical. It sees Bitcoin trading right around $105,000. And it specifically notes it's near the apex, like the pointy end of a triangle pattern on the chart.
Okay, and the 50-day moving average, the 50 MA, that's important here.
Yeah, the source points out that the 50 MA is kind of sitting just below where the price is now. It's acting as technical support.
And the triangle apex, why is that significant?
Well, usually when you see price getting squeezed into the tip of a triangle like that, it means the price range is tightening up. Often signals that, things could get volatile, a bigger move might be coming because it's running out of room to consolidate.
Got it. So what does this technical take suggest could happen next?
Well, the article basically outlines two main possibilities based on this pattern. If Bitcoin manages a confirmed breakout above the triangle, the analysis suggests it could be heading towards the $110,000 level.
Okay. And the other side, if it breaks down.
Right. If it breaks below the triangle and maybe below that 50 MA support too, then the article says breakdown targets stay low, which implies, a move down to lower prices.
So basically, BTC is at a key decision point, technically speaking. Break out or break down from this 105K zone.
Pretty much. That's the picture this analysis paints.
Okay, now here's where, like you said, it gets really interesting. It shows the kind of conflicting forces you see all the time in crypto. We have two articles about XRP, same asset, around the same time, telling completely different stories.
Yeah, it's fascinating seeing these narratives side by side. One is all about positive institutional interest potentially driving things up.
And the other?
The other describes, market chaos and liquidations.
Okay, let's start with the bullish one. This is from Crypto. XRP primed to move higher as Chinese company plans $300 million XRP treasury plan.
So this piece highlights a specific event. A company based in China, Weebus International ticker DBETO, filed a Form 6K with the U.S. SEC.
Okay, a regulatory filing. And the significance of that, according to this source.
Well, the article frames this filing as basically setting the stage for Weebus to potentially create a corporate treasury holding XRP. And they mention a figure, $300 million.
Wow. Okay.
So it's presented as a really concrete step, potentially a big deal for institutional adoption of XRP.
Right. So you read that $300 million corporate treasury plan, sounds pretty positive, but then you flip the script completely with this other article. This one's from Coin Tribune EN. Massive liquidations on XRP, how a small dip triggered chaos.
Yeah, quite the contrast. This piece talks about a recent event where XRP's price took a pretty brutal and sudden dive.
And it focuses on the immediate fallout from that drop.
Exactly. It emphasizes how this dip, which they even call relatively small, triggered a huge wave of liquidations, specifically for long positions.
Okay, maybe explain liquidations quickly for anyone less familiar.
Sure. So liquidations happen mainly in leverage trading. That's where traders borrow funds to make bigger bets, maybe betting the price will go up. That's a long position. If the price suddenly drops hard against them, they might not have enough funds to cover the potential loss, and the exchange automatically closes their position. That's a liquidation.
And that forced selling just pushes the price down even further.
Precisely. It can cascade. So the insight from this article is really about how volatile and, frankly, how fragile these leveraged crypto markets can be. Even while there's positive buzz about potential big money adoption, the actual market mechanics, the leverage, the volatility, they can cause these really rapid, chaotic price moves and wipe out traders.
So you've got these two things happening almost simultaneously, potential big institutional news brewing,
Right.
and at the same time, immediate market structure risk playing out with these liquidations. It's quite the juxtaposition.
It really is. It perfectly captures that complexity. You can have, potentially game-changing news announced, and then moments later, you see people getting completely wiped out by a price swing. It's a stark reminder the market reacts to more than just the headlines.
Definitely makes you wonder which narrative wins out or which matters more in the short term.
Yeah, which signal is louder at any given moment? It's tough to say.
So speaking of the bigger picture, we also saw a couple of articles trying to figure out where we are in the overall crypto market cycle. And surprise, surprise, different interpretations using history again. One from CoinMarketCap titled Crypto Cycle 2024 Mirrors 2014-2017 Pattern.
This one takes a more, let's say, cautious stance, maybe even a bit bearish. The core idea is that the pattern playing out now in 2024 looks a lot like the cycle from 2014 to 2017, and they explicitly say it does not look like the really explosive 2021 cycle.
And they don't sugarcoat the warning either.
No, not at all. There's a pretty blunt line in there. Most won't see it coming. Brace for a rude awakening. Uses hashtags like hashtag CryptoCycle2024, hashtag Bitcoin, hashtag altcoins, suggesting this view applies broadly.
Okay.
So the takeaway is this analysis sees things now looking like an earlier, maybe less exciting, possibly tougher part of a cycle.
Okay, so that's one perspective. But then you've got another article. This one's Crypto Market Bull Cycle Comparison. Signs point to a delayed but explosive finale from CoinDo.com. Also looking at history, but reaching a different conclusion.
Right. This source also brings up past cycles. It mentions 2017, calling it the classic climb and sudden fall, that relentless run-up, then a sharp drop, textbook stuff.
But its take on now is different.
Yeah, its read on the current situation isn't predicting that rude awakening anytime soon. Based on their analysis, this source sees signs pointing towards a delayed but ultimately explosive finale to this bull cycle. So the key insight is that you have two different analyses, both using historical comparisons, but they end up with totally different predictions for what's next. One warns things look like an older, maybe tougher period,
While the other suggests the big fireworks might still be coming, just maybe later than expected.
Exactly. It really highlights how, even looking at the same past data, analysts can interpret it very differently. Shows you the uncertainty involved in trying to map the present onto the past.
Yeah, definitely. It forces you, the listener, to kind of weigh those different views against maybe what you're seeing or thinking.
Absolutely.
And just to, round out the picture of what's out there, we also saw an article making some very specific, very bold claims about a particular altcoin. This one from Crypto's News, titled From $2,000 to $59K, Arctic Pablo dominates as the top cryptos to buy now, while Dogecoin and dogs.
Right. This is just a good example of that other category of crypto news, the really high conviction, specific altcoin promotion stuff that's always floating around.
Yeah. It throws out this huge potential price target for Arctic Pablo, $2,000 to $59K. Calls it a top crypto to buy now, compares it to Dogecoin and others.
Now, the snippet we saw doesn't actually explain how they get to that 59K number or why it supposedly dominates.
Right.
But the point is just recognizing that this kind of, let's call it highly speculative, project-specific hype is also a constant part of the information flow. It sits right alongside the technical analysis, the corporate news, the big macro cycle theories.
Good point. Reminds you of the sheer range of claims you run into.
For sure.
Okay, so let's quickly recap this snapshot from June 5th. We saw how projects like Mutuum Finance might use guest posts on community platforms, complete with disclaimers, to push that top crypto narrative.
Yep. And we looked at Bitcoin, sitting right around that 105K mark, kind of at a technical crossroads with that triangle pattern and the 50 MA support. potential breakout towards $110
Yeah.
or a breakdown to lower levels.
Then, the really striking thing with XRP, that clash between potentially huge news like the Weebus International Corporate Treasury Plan, suggesting institutional interest.
Happening right alongside reports of market chaos, like a small dip causing massive liquidations for traders, which really highlights the volatility risk.
And finally, those different takes on the market cycle. One analyst sees parallels to the 2014-2017 period, warning of a rude awakening.
While another, also looking at history, suggests maybe a delayed but explosive finale is still on the cards, referencing 2017 in a different way. And we also noted those super specific altcoin calls, like for Arctic Pablo.
Right. So this quick run through really gives you a feel for just how diverse and often contradictory the narratives are on any single day. You've got the promotions, the chart readings, the fundamental news clashing with market mechanics, and these big debates about the overall cycle.
It definitely underscores, the challenge of just navigating all this information flooding at you from different angles, often disagreeing with itself.
Yeah, absolutely. So just based only on this snapshot we've discussed today, think about those snarkily different market cycle predictions, or that conflicting XRP news showing big potential and immediate chaos. It really makes you think. In a market where experts can look at the same history and predict opposite futures, and where great fundamental news might coincide with brutal price drops that liquidate traders, how much weight can you really put on any single piece of information or analysis?
And maybe even take it a step further, what does the fact that these contradictory narratives exist side by side actually tell us about the, let's say, maturity or maybe the efficiency of how information even works in the crypto space right now? Something to chew on.